Have you ever stopped to observe how people often react when they receive a criticism or provocation? It is common to feel that instant heat in the chest, as if a spark would light up inside. The first desire is to retaliate in the same coin, explain, prove that it is right, show who bids, teach the other. Then the discussion begins, the screams, the battle of arguments. And at the end, you leave exhausted. The mood gets heavy. The day seems spoiled. What's worse is that even though you think you won, you actually lost. Because, as my grandfather said, and Jewish grandparents always have a special wisdom in a fight, who wins is who knows how to shut up. When I was a child, I didn't quite understand this idea. What do you mean to be quiet? If I don't answer, how am I going to prove that I am right? That itching inside, the need to defend itself, seemed stronger than any advice. But over time, after many experiments, I realized something fundamental. In a conflict, they win those who have more emotional control, not who speaks louder, not who has the best arguments, but who can keep calm. Here comes the question, and how to put someone in place without falling on the same level. The solution is simpler than it seems. There is a single question that disarms anyone. It doesn't matter if you're an arrogant boss, a noisy neighbor, or that relative who loves provocation. It works with anyone, regardless of education, social position, or temperament. I have already tested this question dozens of times in different situations, and the result is always the same. The other is out of action. You must be curious to know what this question is, aren't you? But I will not reveal now. If I said like this, suddenly, you would just swing my head, find it interesting, and move on. My goal is that you understand the mechanism behind it, so that the next time someone tries to tease you, your first impulse is not to retaliate, but smile and ask that question with peace of mind. This is not magic, it is pure psychology. The sages of the Talmud said, ask the right question, and half of the answer is already given. The cunning is not in being the smartest, but not getting into the other's game. I remember an episode of my youth. I was in some friends on the street when an older boy started teasing us, asking questions sarcastically. Everyone fell into the trap. Some were justified, others got nervous, some even shouted. He just smiled, because that's exactly what he wanted to see us lost in his own emotions. It was then that my grandfather, who passed by, released a phrase that I never got out of the head. Who starts arguing first has lost. At the time, I didn't understand the depth of it, but life showed me that it was absolutely right. The question I will share with you take the floor from any discussion. Those who wanted to hit you are aimless, because they expected shouts, justifications, emotions on the skin, and receives. Instead, a question that has no easy answer. How many times, after a fight, you didn't think, oh, if I could go back and answer calmly, with elegance? Well, this is the instrument that will spare you from this regret. I know you are looking forward to knowing this question, but like all true wisdom, it requires patience. First, you need to understand why arguing is always a trap. Then I will show how this question works in practice, with real examples. Only then will you feel your real power. It is not just advice, it is a lesson that can save your nerves, your time, and even your relationships. Now, let's get down to business. How does this question dismantle any conflict without a single discussion? Here is the secret. When someone tries to tease you, instead of getting into the fight, simply ask, but what is your goal in saying that? It sounds basic, but it is genius. Imagine the scene. One starts attacking you, helping you defend yourself, shout, lose patience. Instead, you look in her eyes calmly and ask that question. The effect is immediate. The other destabilizes itself, because, deep down, he does not know for sure why he is saying that. People argue for various reasons. Some want to feel superior. Others just need to discount anger. There are those who feed their own ego. But everyone expects a reaction. When you don't give them what REM, the conflict loses strength. I will tell you some stories for you to see how this works. First situation, the boss. When he was younger, he worked for an intelligent man but who loved to demonstrate authority. One day he gathered the team and started criticizing. Why are you so slow? Why don't you work well? Everyone was silent. Some lowered their heads. Others tried to justify themselves. But I looked up and asked, sorry, but what is your intention to say that now? He was silent, literally speechless, because your goal was just to discount frustration and make us feel guilty. My question took him by surprise, and the conversation took another direction. We started discussing solutions to improve the rhythm. Second situation, the neighbor. There was a guy who loved to make noise at night. I had talked to him several times, and the answer was always aggressive. So, it's my house. I do what I want. This time, instead of arguing, I asked, tell me something. What is your purpose when talking like this? He was confused. stammered something like, because I don't like to send me. Then I said, so we'd arranged like this. I don't give orders, and we think everyone is comfortable. Ready, the conflict is over, and we reached an agreement. Third situation, the family. And here's the most important thing. This question also works at home, where conflicts are often sore. At a family lunch, a relative, after a few doses, began to tease me. You always think you know everything, don't you? Instead of retalizing, I could have asked instead of offending me or arguing. I asked, and why are you saying that? Silence. The whole family fell silent because everyone expected shouts, scandal, noise, but the person did not know what to answer. He was silent for a few seconds and changed the subject. At this point, I understood that the force is not to prove that you're right. Force is giving space for each other to reflect on their own words. Why does this work? Because this question does not attack the words, but the intention behind them. You don't argue if he's right or wrong. It does not enter a battle of facts. You go deeper, question the motivation, and that's where most people get lost, because they often don't know why they are arguing. It's like a chess match. The person thinks he will corner you, and you suddenly turn the board. Cheetah's paralyzed. What now? What do I do? What does this bring to your life energy saving? You do not spend nerves on empty discussions. Respect. People realize that you know how to control themselves and come to see you otherwise. Situation control. You are no longer hostage to the emotions of others. You know, when I was younger, I thought to be smart was proving that it was right. Over time, I understood to be intelligent is to avoid unnecessary conflicts. And here's a short advice for you. The next time someone tries to tease you, don't respond on the impulse. Take a deep look in the eye and ask, and why are you saying that? Believe me, the result will surprise you. Well, my friend, we have seen how this question works and shared real stories with you. But it's not over yet. The final part is missing, where I will close with the golden key and leave some important reflections for you to take to life. Let's be sincere. Life is full of people who want to hit us. It can be direct aggression or just an indirect sarcasm, a provocation. Sometimes it is not even by evil, it's just habit, because the person is empty inside and feeds on the emotions of others. True wisdom is not to let them steal their peace. There is a Jewish proverb that says, if a fool throws a stone into you, it is not mandatory to pick it up with his hands. That's exactly what we learned here. How not to hold back the stones that others play. Let's recap what we find out. Discussing is always losing. Even if you're right, lose energy, time, and tranquility. One question is worth 1,000 arguments. And why are you saying that? It makes the person curl alone. The strength is in calm. You remain in control, not as a victim of the emotions of others. If you keep it just that, you will be ahead of the majority. But I want to give you one more thing. We often think wisdom is grand, philosophical, complicated. In fact, wisdom is details. It's knowing how to shut up when I could scream. It is asking a simple question instead of spending hours explaining the obvious. It is keeping dignity and heart clean, even when everything around is dirty. I've lived enough to say, the most valuable in life is not money, status, or knowledge. It is the ability to remain calm and light, regardless of circumstances, because everything else can get lost and be regained. But inner peace, once lost, is very difficult to recover. So I share this Jewish wisdom. It is not theory, it is practical. It works every day. If you start applying this only question in your life, you will see how your relationships will change. Less conflicts, more respect, and, above all, more tranquility within you. To close, a small story. An acquaintance of mine used to argue with everyone at home, with his wife, at work, with his colleagues, even with his children. He always wanted to prove that he was right, until one day he realized, I'm right, but I'm not happier. That's when you experience this method. Stop arguing and ask the question. And he said to me, you can't imagine how my life changed. I started talking less and stressing me less, and suddenly people started to respect me more. That's the result. When you stop fighting with the world, finally starts to live for yourself. Now, I want you to think, how many times last week did anyone try to tease you? How many times have you felt like exploding, arguing, proving your point? Imagine if in these situations you had only used one question, and why are you saying that? Think about how many nerves would have saved, how much energy would have left for what really matters, how many conflicts that would not have begun. Therefore, my advice is try today, tomorrow, in the coming days, test and practice. Then come tell me in the comments how it was. And if you like this story, if you want to keep learning simple but powerful secrets from Jewish wisdom, subscribe to the channel. Here you will find more stories, more practical tips for living more calmly, more wisdom, and more happiness. For in our tradition it has always been said, The word is not ornament for the ears. It is a tool for life. And I want you to have these tools at hand. Thanks for having come here. Take care of your heart. Take care of your nerves. And remember, a single question can change not only the words of others, but your own life. And of course, don't forget to subscribe, because I still have a lot of secrets to sharing with you.